We had a live State of the SEL, probably closing on like 3 weeks or a month or something like that. I don't know. It's been a crazy semester for me, but we're back and we've got a stacked desk for the final State of the SEL before finals day tomorrow. 3 teams are left in the SEL Rocket League side of things right now. So I've got one of those 9 players with me today. Is Larry's below me on the big 4-man panel, and then TJ and Dyln are on the right side of your screen. Fellas, how are we doing? Larry, I'll start with you.
You know, I'm doing great. First off, thank you for having me on the stream. It's an honor to be here. I gotta say, I would never see myself being up here, so, you know, looking to have a good time.
All right. Well, welcome. I mean, Dyln and TJ, they've been doing this a little while. They both made the player to on-camera personality transition. TJ, more on camera nowadays. Mr. Main Rocket League channel fella, repping the Concord boys. How was that for you?
Oh, it's just, you know, Bepic, at the end of the day, all that's cool, but State of the SEL is back, and that's what's really important, so I'm just glad to be here.
Dyln, how about you? How you doing?
I mean, I'm doing good. You know, life's been kind of coasting recently, but it's always fantastic to be back on here with all my guys, including a special guest, my good up-and-coming player, Larry, man. It's good to be here. I'm excited to talk business today.
Yes, sir. Lots of business to talk about. Got a lot of topics, including those final 3 teams in playoffs. But I do want to start out with kind of a real quick recap for those that didn't catch our November 5th announcement stream, because we had a lot of big changes announced, and I want to make sure everybody is fully aware of what's coming in the spring semester, as well as kind of get all your thoughts on these changes. The big one, though, and let me put up the big announcement on stream. Pretty sure I'm allowed to do this, but we partnered with the CECC. So the SEL is sending a team to the big CECC May Madness LAN come May, that Esports U and the CSMG hosts. And I mean, this is massive for the league. And I mean, Larry, I'll ask you first. Like, you're gonna be one of the guys potentially contending for this, because the winner of spring goes to the CECC LAN. What are your thoughts, like, seeing a regionally like the SEL get that kind of partnership?
I mean, I'll be honest, that's my first time hearing that news. So,
and that's why we do this.
Yeah, you know, obviously I gotta get my team together, and we gotta start grinding for it.
Heck yeah. Dyln, you're kind of in the same boat, playing in the SEL in the spring, hopefully, for that spot. How about you? What are your thoughts?
I mean, that'd be awesome. If we pull off a miraculous run and win spring, that would be an insane opportunity to get to participate in. But even so, it's massive for the SEL to get that kind of exposure and opportunity. It's going to bring a lot of attention to us. So I'm excited for that, for all of us more than anything.
It's big for the league. And I mean, TJ, we're going to be at the forefront of casting everybody's run to try and take that CECC spot. So it's going to be a fun spring.
That's my favorite announcement, Bepic, is that I saw the staff, and then you go to the very next picture and it says main caster lineup, and I see Mr. Bepic is back on the screen. That right there, that's probably the highlight of the entire announcement. We finally get you back on mainstream. It's been, I've been trying to hold it down for the last almost year now, I guess. And so it'll be nice to have you back and getting to push for CECC. I got to go last year. I was very fortunate to be there. Such an incredible event, and no matter who the team is, I know that they are going to be the absolute best representative. And knowing the other leagues that are involved, not to talk a little bit of trash, but talk a little bit of trash at the same time, the SEL will not be contending for the bottom, will be contending for the top.
Absolutely, I'm excited. And just the top spring teams, which, since we announced it so late in the semester, and I guess it's for people like Larry that didn't see the announcement stream, unfortunately, but it is just the #1 spring team. So we announced it so late, fall points won't count for the CECC spot, but they will still count for LAN. Just so everybody is aware, that is how it is working. So the winner of the big double elim bracket will be the CECC SEL representative. So excited about that, and the announcement as well. I'm joining the casting lineup again after my year hiatus. It's been a minute. I'll be back on in the booth with TJ. So 2 thumbs up there. I'm excited to be taking that role and the director of league operations role. So I'm trying to take an even bigger role here at the SEL. But the other announcement, and this is one I really want to get all of your thoughts on, because it's the one that, you know, isn't the, like, it's not negative, but it's not completely positive. It's just a big change, and it's that we're transitioning to a paid entry system. And this is, I'll explain it real quick for those that just see you have to pay money now to play in the SEL. It's become not sustainable to run the SEL as a completely free to entry league anymore, for staff costs, land costs, all of that. And so with the CECC partnership, with a variety of other factors, we decided to start charging teams. And if you want the full breakdown, the graphics in the Discord server. But Dyln, I want to talk to you about this as a game lead for KSU. I mean, what are your thoughts just initially upon seeing this announcement?
I mean, as soon as I got wind of the situation that was happening, I immediately got in touch with my director, and I was like, "Hey, man, we can now get like every single one of our Valorant and Rocket League teams participating in this." And Rocket League and Valorant are our second and third largest teams behind League of Legends at our school. So as soon as I talked with him and our president, and I was like, hey, we could actually like send a lot of teams into this, they were all immediately on board. And it's just exciting, you know, that more people get the opportunity to participate in this league. I really do think the Southeastern League is something special. And I think that now that it's going to be, I guess by definition, more accessible. I mean, because of course there's a paywall, but like as soon as you pay that wall, as many teams as you want under all the titles, right? So it gives a lot more accessibility to those teams, more opportunities for players. It's going to be awesome overall, and I'm excited for it.
I mean, Larry, Florida's a club program as well. There are a lot of club programs that I want to stay involved. Like, I mean, as I don't know how involved you are in Florida Rocket League and esports as a whole, but what are your initial thoughts?
You know, so right now UF is an up-and-coming esports program. UF actually just announced that they're building an esports lounge.
All right.
Should be ready in 2025. But right now we have about 2 or 3 Rocket League teams, but every semester we're seeing more and more people come out. Right now we have one Valorant team who they're pretty decent, but I don't think they're competing in SEL right now. So, you know, who knows? Maybe that'll change in the future. And honestly, I'm excited for the future of SEL.
I hope so. I got to meet some of the Florida Valorant guys at the LAN in the spring, and they were all cool beans. So I'd like to see them again. And I mean, TJ, Mr. President, like, I'm sure you can give deep insight into the financials of running a club program and leagues like the SEL that have to charge fees. But how about you? What are your thoughts on the announcement?
I mean, it has to happen. I get that both from my role at UGA and both being a staff member in SEL. It's just the way that esports leagues have to go. There's no such thing as free anymore, which does hurt a little bit. And I know that my club program will not be the only one who struggles a little bit. But obviously, in terms of priorities, SEL, it's way, way, way worth the cost, especially when you consider all of the other, even some of the regional leagues cost thousands. So for SEL to give the amount of coverage and care that they do for their players and teams and programs for $450 for the entire school year, that's special. And a lot of leagues also just like to limit teams and titles as well, and so the fact that you get that full package, it's definitely worth it. I kind of have a knack for spawning money out of thin air, so I hope that UGA will be there, but we'll see.
All right, cool. I went into that topic like not knowing full well if like KSU would be leaving or Florida would be leaving the SEL because of this, so I'm glad it was all relatively positive, what we were talking about. So good discussion, and if anyone's watching right now that has questions, feel free to reach out to me or Fred or Snipes or TJ. I'm sure we can all point you in the right direction with figuring all of that out. But that's the gist of the announcements. We added a tier 3 to SEL, Valorant, and Rocket League as well to field all the teams that might be coming in, since we have unlimited roster space now for member schools. So that's the big announcement with regards to the format. But we can move on to the playoffs now. That's definitely the more exciting topic. And I mean, so far, Larry, you've been at the forefront of the playoff action, making a run with Florida. Like, how has the Gators run been? You guys have had to. It's been so stacked this season, the SEL, and I mean, you guys went deep into the winners bracket. What's your run been like?
You know, I think we're finally starting to get it together as a team. You know, the chemistry's starting to be there. I think a lot of times when we lose games, it's kind of in our control. A lot of times it's our mistakes, and you know, honestly, with the SEL playoffs, anyone can win in any game. Really, the seeding doesn't matter as much. As you can see, USC took BPC to Game 5. Or actually, they got reverse swept.
Yeah, yeah.
But there were definitely some shocking wins, in my opinion. I think George Mason over UTK, I think, is obviously a surprise to everyone. But I will say that it's not as surprising to me because with the loss of Chris and Shaka having to step up with UTK, they kind of lost their superpower a little bit. And then Old Dominion over USC. I mean, I did not see that coming at all. And it seems like Old Dominion is starting to find their stride a little bit. They even took down UNTC in the CCS playoffs 4-2, which is even more of a shock. And it really just goes to show that, you know, some teams can be on their game and other teams can just be having a bad day.
It's so crazy how the seeds just look crazy when you look at like where teams finish out of winner's circle, out of groups, like the numbers attached to their team name in the bracket. Like you've got 6-5, 1 and 4 as the top 4 teams in the bracket. It's been crazy. I mean, TJ, like the whole UTK drama, Bruton Parker having to reverse sweep South Carolina, some teams that have struggled at points throughout this season, making deep runs. Landon, I see you in chat. Like, it's been a wild playoffs this fall semester.
Yeah, at this rate, I'll be asking for a raise. I might just go gray before we even finish the month out. No, it's been an absurd set of games, and especially on stream, we have seen a slew of action. We watched Larry and the boys almost get reverse swept in winners semis, and then luckily for them, they did get to avoid that. I really thought the GMU was going to go into losers and cause problems, but we've had this storyline brewing the entire year. ETSU, a team that on paper is easily one of the best in the entire league, but they have got to show it. And then what do? They beat a hot GMU. They beat a UNC Charlotte, a team that, again, I would say one of the best easily. And then, of course, we're going to get to see them tomorrow night play Larry. So I truly don't even know where I'm going with predictions as of right now, but the action has been incredible.
You got a second to think about the predictions. We are going to be talking about that, though, once we break down the final 2 series of the playoffs. But man, I mean, Dyln, let's talk about ETSU and their run from the first round of lower bracket. Is this something that you saw coming, watching? And I don't remember if you played against ETSU this season, but just knowing this East Tennessee State roster, is this something you saw coming?
So, I mean, truthfully, me, TJ, and Shaka actually got a little taste of ETSU well before the season started. We ran into them in a weekly, and they were pretty good. They weren't all the way there, but like we saw the potential was there. And I think, as TJ mentioned earlier, you know, there's been a storyline of like this team is supposed to be something special, and they just hadn't been putting it together when they needed to. But now we're seeing it happen at the right time. And I mean, if we look at this lower bracket run, like it's realistically like I'm looking at all these wins, and it doesn't surprise me. Like, all of these teams are teams that I think they're fully capable of beating. I appreciate that James Madison put up a good fight against them in that first round, took it to 5. And then Old Dominion getting that win over USC. You could, I don't know if you want to argue fluke, whatever it was, but regardless, ETSU took care of business as usual. And like you mentioned, that George Mason team is hot. You know, they took down, yes, a UTK with Shaka, but that UTK with Shaka also took down Northwood. So they're not a team to slouch on. And you'd expect them to, you know, maybe go to 5, even maybe win that ETSU matchup. But ETSU sweeps them. And then not just sweeps George Mason, but then goes on to beat UNCC in 4. A UNCC team that is very, very lethal when they're on their day. But regardless of who was on their day, who wasn't, ETSU has been getting the job done for the most part. Whether or not they can get it done again against Florida is a different story that we'll have to see. But we'll talk more about that later.
So let's go ahead and move into that, because I want to go back to you, Larry, and get your thoughts just straight up. Like, you're playing in this series tomorrow evening against ETSU, and what are you thinking? What's the team vibe like going into that lower final?
You know, a lot of sticking together as a team and improving is how you bounce back from a loss. And obviously, BPC, we wanted to win that a lot, and you know, you got to go back to the drawing board and figure out what you did wrong, how you messed up. And I fully expect ETSU to come out ready to play. I mean, you got to give them respect to that lower bracket run. I mean, to start from the first round of the lowers and make it all the way to the final, you just got to give them that. And they could have some potential momentum going into that game, but I expect it to be a close series. I think they're going to come out aggressive. They have pretty good chemistry together as a team. You just got to hop in the passing lanes a little bit, and I expect Hammy Crackers to play some stellar defense. We're going to link up together on some pass plays, and you know, I got to say, you know, it's going to be a close series, but I got to take the Gators in 5.
All right, you're laying down your prediction already. And Landon in chat has said that don't worry, Larry. He's got 4 hours past 2 weeks, so you'll be fine. So, well, I don't know if that's completely true or not. That seems like something Landon would just say to mess with you, but maybe it is. I don't know. But with predictions, TJ, have you had sufficient time to think about like just overall your thoughts on this series, but also your taking?
I have a bad history. If you go back through the state of the SELs, I have a bad history of sleeping on Florida because I thought that FIU was going to come in locked, UTK locked, UNCC locked, and then what have I done? I've watched every single one of those teams absolutely fall. So, on that note, it's kind of hard to go against my former self, but I'm going to do it anyways. Give me ETSU in 5.
Oh, with Larry on the panel.
That.
I can explain it if I want, but I want to let Dyln talk too.
All right, Dyln. What?
Dude, don't put this pressure on me. All right,
1 for 1, like one for each team so far.
It's interesting. I know Florida has the capability to get this win, but Larry mentioned it himself. That momentum to go from lowers round 1 all the way to lowers finals is not something to discount. And while I don't think it'll be close by any means, I think I gotta go with ETSU in 5 in this. If they're clicking like they should be, like I think that team can get things done. But like I said, it won't be close. And I also, like, realistically, I got like a 60-40 kind of ratio going towards ETSU. It's not close, or it's not a far reach by any means. Like, I think both of them can win. I just think that momentum is kind of hard to beat.
Fair enough. And Landon has confirmed that his 4 hours past 2 is accurate. So your TJ and Dyln are both going ETSU, even with that information. Fair enough, boys. I mean, I think this is also a series that should go to 5. I think it's a pretty safe bet saying that it goes to Game 5 with everything that's on the line. But Larry, I mean, you know I've been a fan of you guys since like the start of last year when you came in, when Kine came in as well. Like, Florida's been fun to watch. And Landon, I know you're in chat. I apologize. I'm about to predict Florida here. And it's a Skyline as well. But I think Florida in 5, just to completely split the desk, is where I'm going. It's going to be a fun series, though. Like, we have had such an exciting fall split of the SEL. And for ETSU, which is a team that has gotten a lot of flack this season for the losses that they've taken and where they think they should be ranked in all the power rankings, to go on this sort of run, like in CCS as well, they took Akron gold to match point and got reverse swept, but it's still impressive winning 3 in a row against Akron gold. And then you beat James Madison, Old Dominion, George Mason, UNCC, all teams I've had in that conversation of like top 8 this entire SEL season. Like, it's gonna be a very, very fun series. And ETSU boys, I wish you luck. Larry, I wish you luck as well. It's going to be a good one. But the winner plays Bruton Parker. And TJ, I want to start with you. You know, the Georgia boy. I always have to start with you when we're talking Bruton Parker. Are they going to get bracket resets, or are they even going to get, like, pushed during the grand finals?
I go ahead and be as blunt as I'm probably going to be on stream that night. Bruton Parker wins in 5 no matter who they play. I don't think, unfortunately, even if ETSU comes out of a fiery hot game 5 win or Florida, I just simply think that Bruton Parker is a team that time after time again is always ready to go. There's really no flaws on that team in terms of the level of play the SEL provides. I do think they drop one, because if UNC Charlotte can take a game, I do think that ETSU or Florida can easily take a game, especially coming off of that losers final. But I just think Bruton Parker way too strong, and I think this is their semester.
Okay. I mean, Larry, I know you're assuming that you're going to win against ETSU. Like, against Bruton Parker, what's your confidence level after being swept in the winners finals, getting that rematch?
You know, our confidence level is very high to play them again, and to be honest, we felt like we had outplayed them in a sense in the upper finals. Mm-hmm. There's just a few plays where, you know, they caught us off guard and scored on us. As you can see, the first 2 games were 1-goal games. Yep. Last game was 2 goals, but the last goal was scored at like 5 seconds left. So, you know, it's a very close series, and they are definitely they really have an impenetrable defense. I had a lot of shots that should have gone in. Man, it's flying in out of nowhere. They're very aggressive on the offensive side, you know, chasing demos, just constant pressure. I think a lot of it comes down to having better offensive possessions and not letting them have control of the ball. We had the opportunity to play them in DreamHack in Atlanta, and there you got to see it in person. You know, they're a very locked-in team. The comms are just exceptional, and they made CRL last fall. You know, so they've been together as a team for a year now, and you can definitely see it. You know, with Hammy Crackers just coming in, we've only had a few months together as a team, and I'm very excited for the next semester and beyond that. So.
All right, so the prediction then: do you force a bracket reset? That's as far as I'll ask. Like, you can go more in depth if you like, but do you guys force the bracket reset? Like, best of 7 against Bruton Parker. Do you think you get that revenge?
You know, I gotta go with my Florida guys, and I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. South Carolina even caught them off guard.
True.
We're up 2-0, so, you know, maybe they weren't trying as hard, or who knows, but the point is that anything can happen. You know, there's a bunch of variables, and I think we'll come ready to play after beating ETSU. We'll be nice and warmed up for that series.
All right, Dyln, do you think that Larry's confidence is just because he's playing on the Florida roster, or do you think that there's some there's some hope for Florida fans here?
Larry, I love you, buddy. Bruton Parker is business. Bruton Parker is class. Bruton Parker is a standard, and that's a very high standard at that. I've seen them push a top 20 Kennesaw team to 7. Like, I've seen them almost get upsets left and right. Like, they are a team that is on the cusp of being top tier talent, and I think that they've just been getting better, because as every team has been this past season, you know, like, I mean, even you guys, right? The Florida guys have been getting a lot better this season, so have they. And, you know, when they came in last spring and they almost ran the entire league until they were stopped by UTK, they don't have anything in their way anymore, except for you guys. But I still gotta go with Bruton Parker, and I think I go with TJ here. I think it's gonna be in 5, truthfully.
I think I'm in the same boat as you guys. No matter who wins the lower finals, Bruton Parker is looking so good right now. And they have had close shaves, but they've still won those close series. Even though the 1-goal games against Florida, having to reverse sweep South Carolina, UNCC put up a fight against them. Like, they just find ways to win, and that's a good roster. They know that this is a big grand finals for them, because, I mean, we saw it last season with Florida State when they won in the fall. They hadn't outright clinched their land spot, but a win in the fall essentially gets you to land. You have to have a serious meltdown in the spring, and a lot of things go against you to not make land after winning in the fall split. I'm gonna put the points up on screen real fast so we can have that refresher. I apologize for actually, I'm gonna turn dark mode on for this. I've learned my lesson. Okay, it's not working. Never mind, you're getting blinded. Those are the points. 40 points in the fall split, like an 8-point jump from first to second. And I mean, I think that's fair. Winning an SEL fall split, like, our semesters used to be full seasons, so I think it's fair. The amount of points that you do get for winning a semester, but it's gonna be a fierce fight for LAN outside of that. So I mean, that lower finals, like those 4 points can make all the difference, especially with all the recruiting that Snipes and I are gonna be doing, trying to get fresh teams into the SEL in the spring. Like, it's gonna be a fierce spring. But I'll put the LAN standings up on the screen as well. And I want to ask you guys, TJ, I will start with you for this. With these 12 teams you see up on screen, and we're going to have to adjust it because we did give out last chance qualifier points based on your performances there. So other teams have points outside of this, but what are the odds? And you can give a percentage, you can give whatever kind of odds you want, that the top 8 right here, all or majority of them make it to LAN.
I agree. I think with all the recruiting, it's going to be hard. I will say this. I think that I would almost bet the entire house on Bruton Parker and then the winner of ETSU in Florida making it to spring. I think without a shred of doubt in my mind that that's easily, like, even if they do melt down and they only place like top 12 or something, I think they're going to be just fine. Obviously, Tennessee is going to come out of the picture now. With that team being disbanded, and so I believe that they are not going to be getting those points, the UTKB team. I believe that's what the rule says. So with them out of the picture, and also James Madison having an extreme sleeper year, like, that entire middle range is just not safe. And for FIU too, that's a team that I wanted to ride with, but they had just really, like, what's the craziest part is if you go back and look, they've only gotten to play 2 series in the entire playoffs, and they went 0-6, which is just absurd to me. And if that's happening in the fall, and then we bring in some of these teams in the spring that we keep teasing, I mean, they might be screwed, honestly. But who knows? I like UNCC's odds because they have really, truly only gotten better. A very few minute bad losses, but they are fresh off of a LAN win as of this last week as well. So that team is just simply going to be a threat. And I would imagine that we're going to see them in a grand final in the spring. If all things work out in their favor, which I would imagine this was a fluke semester for them. Yeah, so I like the top 4. I think that's what I'll stick with. But everybody else, you're definitely not safe by any means.
Dyln, how about you? I mean, I know you're pining for a LAN spot as well in the spring, but what are the odds you think that the majority of these top 8 teams make it?
Yeah, I mean, TJ, this guy reads my mind, man. Like, I agree. I think that top 4 team is almost a lock. I think that, you know, the top 3 teams are almost guaranteed, and then UNCC kind of being that roadblock for the rest of the teams to kind of get the points required to get to LAN. Because it's not just about the rest of the top 8 making it. It's like, what if we get 4 new really strong contenders that are people who take down those bottom 4, but they have to be able to get past that top 4 and overtake the teams that are above them. To kind of get those points. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think that, like TJ said, that top 4's got a good safety net at the moment. They kind of just need to not do, I don't know, abysmal or, like, I don't know, leave the scene. And they probably should be fine.
Which is not unlikely given what's happening.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's kind of crazy at the moment. But yeah, I think that top 4 is safe, and I think that middle 4 is pretty up for grabs realistically.
How about you, Larry? I mean, you've played against a lot of these teams this fall. Like, do you see this top 8 as like full of LAN teams?
I gotta agree with the rest of the guys that the top 4 is probably pretty cemented for the most part, even if we're just going off of skill level. I think it's pretty representative of how the teams are. One thing though is I think USC is my sleeper team. I really expected them to do a lot better than they did. Which was why I said the loss to Old Dominion was very shocking, because they've always given us a hard time in every series we played them, and we played them a bunch of times.
It's like 5 this season, isn't it? Like across ACC, SEL, SEL quals, everything.
DreamHack. I think we played them 3 times in DreamHack. But yeah, I mean, the bottom 4 is really up for grabs. I honestly expect USC to hopefully do better in the spring split and then maybe make it into that top 8. JMU is also a very solid team.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing about FIU in this playoffs is, although they went 0-6, every game was decided by basically 1 goal, I believe. That there were a lot of close series. There were a lot of close games, and a lot of the series that ended up 3-0, 3-1. All of them were 1-goal games. Specifically, UNCC over FIU, Florida over FIU. I mean, you just got to feel for them. I think FIU is a very talented team, and I honestly was shocked that they went out the way they did. And then you got ETSU over UNCC. Coming back, beating them 3-1 after losing 3-1 to them in the uppers. It just goes to show you that any team can have their day in the SEL playoffs. You never know what's gonna happen.
That's the beauty of it. And I mean, some notes as well. I love the confidence in South Carolina, Larry. I think that's high praise for that team, even after losing Solar. I believe Pigeon is potentially going to James Madison. I'm pretty sure that's out there. Gad just tweeted about that. I'm not sure. It was rumored he was going in the spring, and then I heard that that was falling through. He's going next fall. But if he does come in the spring, that's a massive upgrade for a JMU team that, yes, they went out in round 1 of lowers, but they were always contending in the top 8 of the SEL. And I mean, I'm sure you guys have all run into Pigeon at some point. You're all that good. But that's a massive upgrade for that JMU roster.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say even I've run into Pigeon once again in a weekly. Guy stopped me from making money. And him going to James Madison, that would definitely be a team to look out for. That'd be one of those teams that I'd argue would be a lock almost, just based off of pure talent. They've already made top 8. They're top 8 in standings. And it's like, if you can just replicate that at least and maybe go a little bit beyond, you're in a great spot. And I think that team has definitely the potential to do so. Man, I don't know how I hadn't heard about that at this point. That's a crazy pickup if that goes through.
Okay, I mean, Gad just put out a Twitter post. Like, it was a picture of him and Pigeon, and he was like, JMU ready, something like that. So that's part of the rumor. We'll see if that happens. Maybe Memory will sub in for GMU as well. I mean, FIU has shown they can have good runs, and even though they did have a rough stretch in this playoffs, I think they're still very much capable of making land. I think odds are very good that we see 5 or more of the current top 8 go to land in the spring, even with new teams coming in. Because, I mean, Bruton Parker last year showed how hard it is to get to land after starting in the spring. So we should have an influx of talent going after the CECC spot, but in terms of land, you are rewarded for playing in the fall. So we'll leave it at that. We'll talk about CCS Nationals as well, because this has turned into kind of a side league for SEL teams to play in. I don't remember exactly how many teams I said we had playing in the CCS National Championship for the SEL, but it was a lot. And I mean, Larry, top 8 run from the Florida Gators, representing the SEC very well. What was your experience like in the huge single elim 64 team bracket?
I mean, same thing with the SEL playoffs. Like, a lot of these teams you wouldn't expect to give you a run for your money will come out and shock you. As we saw, Texas upset Iowa State first round. South Carolina got reverse swept by California. Just games you wouldn't expect.
North Texas going to 7 with Florida?
Yeah, let's talk about North Texas and Omaha. That's what I want to talk about. Let's talk about those series.
I'll be honest, like, the last 2 games, they were playing insane defense. I think we had 17 shots back-to-back games, and they had like over 10 saves. It was insane. It was insane. So they were just playing super good defense. We were just firing shots off, and the shots ended up falling. But we weren't. I will say we weren't too worried about it. We knew we were that series 7 games no matter what. But then we played Omaha and Grand Canyon. All 3 teams that we played, 4 teams we played, are teams we've never played before. So it was a fun experience, getting to expand our competition, I guess you could say. We ended up running into Colorado, who I think they were on their game that day.
Mm-hmm.
But close games. and they had some peaks. And the way I look at it is all the 1 seeds in the tournament made it to the Final Four, so it just seems like it was that way. But some surprising games that I had that I'd seen is ODU over UNCC on the other side of the bracket.
Oh yeah, that was a huge upset. I had UNCC going to the top 4. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, that was shocking. You got Alabama losing 0-4 to Northern Arizona. That was definitely something. And then to talk about George Mason's run, they ran into fellow SEL teams. You know, you got Houston by you. So what are the odds of that? And yeah, they had the same result as us. They ended up getting 4-0'd by Akron as well. So the SEL teams in the top 8 got whooped by the 1 seeds.
But look at this, Akron Gold and ETSU. I think this was our first, I guess it wasn't the first sign of ETSU making a run, but going to 7 against Akron Golds. I mean, TJ, that's huge. They won the first 3 games, and they did get reverse swept. They forced Akron Gold to lock in, but against the eventual champions, that's a pretty good mark on your resume.
We'll say I may be in the minority here. I did not view that series as impactful as a lot of y'all are. Yeah, so here's my reasoning for it. I view that series almost in the exact same light as I view Bruton Parker and USC. And the reason why I say that is because, yes, that should have never gone to the full distance, especially in a best of 7. But my reasoning is that Akron Gold have shown that they are easily one of the best in the nation. And if they didn't make CRL top 8 by beating Fisher, then maybe I would have been like, that's a good, solid best of 7. But I honestly think that ETSU just caught them by surprise completely. And yes, that is worth noting. But I don't know how much I weigh it in the grand scheme of things because it's Akron Gold. And even if they did end up beating Akron Gold, they would have gone into George Mason, which they've shown that they are better than on paper. But I don't know. CCS just has so many weird moments that I don't take this bracket with too much strength in terms of notes for me to go off of. I think that doing it all over one weekend in single elim is a really funny format for content, but for these players and for Larry, especially for y'all, I can't even imagine what it was like, and I'm sure that you can attest that you weren't playing your absolute best at times.
Yeah, I mean, it's partly that, and also a lot of teams, you don't know what you're going into because the way they do the seeding, there's so many teams to choose from to do the seeding, and a lot of times teams are playing in a weaker conference, and they could be a really stacked team, you just don't know. And you just can't be caught off guard like some of the teams in the tournament.
That's what I'm talking about with Akron, is that they were in a weak conference. I think they got surprised, but I think they probably had full control of that series all the way through.
Yeah, and I would even say that series, the both teams stacked up together, is pretty even. I think, yeah, obviously any day you can catch a team off guard, but the ETSU team, they're on paper they're a really good team. I think they stacked up well against Akron.
Yeah, in my eyes, 3 wins in a row against a team like Akron Gold is still impressive. No matter what the format is, getting 3 games in a row against any team says something. And I think it's still impressive for ETSU. It's not just because because Landon is in the chat right now. But I think it's an impressive result. And they beat Buds 4-2 as well, and Buds was kind of streaking a little bit. Dyln, I mean, we talked about it when we had the State of the SEL during the conferences, but, I'll always let you talk about your former team. The Buds were looking pretty good.
Yeah, man. I mean, the Buds were on a weird roller coaster this season. There were so many moving gears, not just in the game, but in personal lives. Monk, of course, engaged, focusing on future things. Buddy RV taking his talents to Valorant. That guy's locked in on that. And of course, they had a roster change, moving from Rose over to Shady, back onto the main team. So it was just like back in the day. And for them to kind of come in and just meld together this roster that went from it's just Buds to all right, hold on a second, it's Buds. We gotta lock in here. So I was proud of the guys to see them work, and I think taking ETSU to 6 is nothing to scoff at all. I think they performed pretty well, and for a last hurrah for for all three of those guys actually as a bud, that was nothing to be ashamed of at all. Of course, I'm happy I get to claim Shady on my team now. But anyways, back to that ETSU Akron Gold result. I also want to tap on that a little bit, Bepic, is that it is still impressive to take 3 games off that Akron roster. I feel like because you mentioned like, oh, you catch them by surprise, but I think everybody who's competed in a best of 7, when you get down to that 2-0 mark, you're like, all right, guys, let's lock in. Like, let's figure out what's going on here. No more trolling, no more funny business. Like, let's play this game. And then to lose that 3rd game in a row, that's kind of when you start ringing the bells where it's like, okay, guys, what's happening here? Like, this team isn't all that. And then, of course, it's top 8 Akron Gold, right? Like, Akron Gold, that's obviously a super talented roster. And they literally just had to start clicking. But I agree with TJ a good bit. I think had ETSU, if ETSU had swept Akron Gold, I would have been like, all right, bro, that's crazy.
Or swept Buds. Or swept Buds. That's an important result too, is that they went to 6 with Buds, which again, I read into that, they should have killed that team in my opinion.
Yeah. And then, so had they swept Akron Gold, I would have been much more, I would have had a different outlook on a lot of things. But them getting reverse swept, not even just them getting reverse swept, but had they beat them in 7, I would have felt like, okay, that's almost like a coin toss kind of situation. You get to game 7, it's kind of anybody's game. Series doesn't matter. You play one game, winner takes all, right? But I mean, regardless though, that still was a good result for the guys. And then of course, Akron goes on to win the entire tournament. So putting up a good fight and, showing, that was kind of like we were alluding to earlier, was like ETSU kind of giving us a glimpse that they were starting to get their things together. And we're seeing that kind of translate over into the SEL lower bracket at the moment. So,
and I mean, they went on to beat UNCC team, I think, after that fact, and then who they 3-0 in bracket play. I have to check real quick. George Mason. They 3-0 George Mason after making that run in CCS. So
a fellow top 8 runner too.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put the bracket up real quick. I'll go over like some other SEL teams. I know we talked about it. Clemson and Houston and George Mason all in one little section of the bracket. It's hilarious, like that little compact SEL section with NKU right above them, FIU, East Tennessee State, Buds. There were so many SEL teams in this Midwest section, which was hilarious to me. South Carolina losing to Cal in Game 7 was unbelievable. They got reverse swept in a best of 7 against California, and that was pretty disappointing. Like, South Carolina just did not look good after they went up 3-0. It was a crazy series to watch. But then Texas upsetting Iowa State, I think, made up for South Carolina. Even though Texas isn't playing in the SEL at the moment, I still count them as an SEL school, having won a season before. ETSU obviously made a great run. I got to shout them out extra because in my video about this bracket, I did not mention them. So my bad again, guys. But what else we got? Old Dominion making their run. James Madison coming up short against a solid Purdue team. Alabama, I don't even want to talk about that result. That is not good. Nation in chat was saying they lost 31-3 on aggregate. Like, they just got stomped.
My
31 goals
against
to 3.
NAU.
Against NAU, it's a good team, but still.
I'll
31-3.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
Guys, that's
Blue
not
game.
good.
Triple flu game.
Yeah. 9-0-8-0.
That's your statement, Big.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, and
that's your goat.
They just won the Battle for Bama land, actually. So they are currently the best team in Alabama on land. So that tells you a little bit about the state of Alabama Rocket League.
Alabama, that team is a special case. They can be. They have the facilities to be like an amazing roster.
Top 48 at their peak.
They really could be. The problem is that they're inconsistent and they have a funny way of playing Rocket League, and I can say that because I scrimmed them yesterday. Yeah, but we're just gonna move on. We're gonna act like that result didn't happen. Be prideful in the rest of our SEL teams, and then Alabama will be back better next year, and hopefully not put up a performance like that next time. I still love those guys though.
It's possible though. That is one of the most up and down teams I have ever covered, but that's beside the point. I want to talk about, this is something like, if you guys haven't heard the JMU rumors, then you might not have heard about the UTSA rumors. This is a team I tried to get in the SEL for this season. They weren't able to make it, but UTSA is going to be playing with Turin Turo in the spring. And I'm guessing by your faces that you hadn't heard about that. Yeah, any opinions out there?
Huh?
Since when has that been a thing?
And Turo's coming to CRL.
Yeah, he's playing on the UTSA main roster.
Well, good on
Bring
him
it
for
on.
sticking. Yeah, what he said. I'm glad I'm retired. No, good on him for sticking to a main, like a big college though, and not going to like a Northwood or a Fisher or anything like that. So respect to him. I hope that he does play in CCS.
I think he is, actually. Nation, you can confirm that in chat, but I think the current thought is that he is going to play in CCS along with the two of the current UTSA starters. So they're going to be a contender, I think, with him popping in. Which, it's an exciting transfer, and yes, Nation has confirmed that he's playing. So yeah, good luck to you guys still playing in the CCS and SEL.
Man.
Y'all have fun with that one.
All right.
I'll gladly be
Well,
casting and watching.
not for long, buddy. I'm getting you off the bench. You're coming back.
Yeah, Mr. DJTJ came off the bench, by the way, to play against my Huntington College Rocket League boys. So before I retired as the Huntington College Rocket League coach, we had one player and coach matchup, which went to Game 5. Huntington won.
It was a good.
So.
It was a good series. It was a good series.
Respect.
I did have to step in last minute, so that will be my excuse. But it was a very good series. You coach your boys well. I cannot be mad.
Shout out Epic College.
Yep. Shout out Epic College.
Looking forward to see what they can do in the spring. Without me, sadly. I am moving on. But all right, let's move on as well to one of our last topics of the night. This is a fun one. I was looking for a topic to fill the 8 slots on the show with, and I'm gonna start with you, Larry. So I want to know if you guys could add one esport title, just like a competitive video game title, to the SEL, like effective immediately, don't have to worry at all about like adminning, like anything that goes into actually adding an SEL title. What would you add? And you're allowed to compete in 2 titles if you want to, so you could compete in it too. Larry, what would you add?
You know, I gotta say Rocket League's my game. But if I was to add a new game title, it's gotta be Rainbow Six.
Oh wow!
like
What's your
that.
rank in R6?
Very bad.
Okay.
I couldn't even tell you.
Fair enough. Adding R6, I like that. I've gotten very familiar with R6 thanks to like working for Huntington. It's pretty interesting to watch at times. Little slow for my taste when it comes to playing it, but it gets entertaining real fast. So I like it. That was kind of out of left field. But Dyln, how about you?
I'll preface this. There's a world where had I not made this roster for Rocket League, I would be playing Rainbow Six for the main KSU roster. So KSU would, or not KSU, Rainbow Six would be my game of choice for sure. That's the only other game I've sunk even remotely as many hours as I have with Rocket League. But love that game. I think I'm gonna try to hit champ this season. I'm almost there. But yeah, I would love to see Siege and SEL. If you want me to help make that happen, let me know. I'll put some work in. We can make that happen for sure.
All right. Hey, Fred is probably not listening right now. He's a busy man. But Fred, we got some R6 vouchers on the panel right now. TJ, I mean, you competed, like, I remember now that you mentioned that, Dyln. You played R6 at the Momocon land, didn't you? With TJ?
I know, against TJ.
Against
Actually,
TJ.
can I pull the ace clip up against UGA, or we're just gonna ignore that now?
We're gonna ignore that. We
It
got
was,
second place. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it was I'm not gonna lie, it was a not a ragtag team, but we pulled some strings to get to play. We had to include one of my dual enrollment high school friends on the team, and we technically beat Tech in a 3v5 because 2 of their players didn't show up, and then we took UGA. I think the score was 5-7 if I remember correctly.
It was close. Yeah.
It was close, yeah.
was a
So
good
for 2 non-siege mains and 3 people who hadn't touched the game in about 2 months, I think we didn't do too shabby, but it was still a super awesome time. It was very fun.
So is your game that you'd add R6 as well, TJ, or you got some other thoughts?
My heart wants R6 because that's a game like UGA's got 2 national titles in that game,
Oh,
and
just
I
go ahead and
love.
brag on us.
Yep, I will. And you know, I have a lot of love in my heart for that game. That was one of the first like really comp games that I got into. Granted, I'm like a resident gold, like low plat max, but I do love that game a lot. I would be totally fine with not only casting that game, but also seeing it on SEL. But I have to be honest, I think Overwatch 2 is our best bet. I think in terms of collegiate involvement and the amount of support and love that goes into that game and into that scene, and also the pace of that game as well,
Yep.
I think SEL Overwatch 2 would be awesome. That's my pick.
All right, I like it. R6 and Overwatch. I would add Minecraft Bed Wars, but I think anyone that watches my stream
I was thinking about saying that, honestly.
Look,
It's a
I
massive
love Bed
shout.
Wars. It should be a big esport. That would have been like I never really got that good at a video game to where I could like go pro. But Clash Royale and Minecraft Bed Wars were my 2 video games that I was actually extremely good at. So
Nightmare rotation.
Epic. We gotta make a SEL clan on Clash Royale, bro. I used to be comp.
I do not play anymore. I have set that game
Never
down.
too late.
Get those fingers ready, buddy. We're locked in.
Well, I mean, fun way to end the show. I do want to, as we are wrapping up, give you guys a chance to give your final thoughts on finals day, on anything we've talked about, anything else you wanna start with. And I mean, TJ, you're cast in the lower and grand finals tomorrow. Let me hear your final thoughts first.
It's been just such an incredible season, and I'm gonna save a lot of my sappy stuff for tomorrow's broadcast.
Fair.
But I am just so happy that I've gotten the chance to fill in from where you stood a year ago and get to kind of make sure SEL is at least on the right track from a broadcast perspective. And I do have Dronus with me, so we are gonna be in good hands for those final 2 games. It will be a very, very good casting duo. But I also am looking forward to having you back. And also, the SEL action has just been incredible. We've gotten some messy series, some absolute peak series. There's potential for the best 2 series of the entire season to happen tomorrow, and I truly don't know what's going to happen at this point. Obviously, y'all know my predictions, but if you watch the SEL broadcast, then you know that absolutely nothing is guaranteed. But yeah, on that note, just make sure that you tune in tomorrow night. It's going to be me and Dronus. We'll bring you all the action. We'll scream in your eardrums, and we'll have a good night.
That is a loud booth right there, but a very exciting one. And shout out to Milk in chat, popping in, coming in at the tail end of this show, but you'll get to see, well, probably not a good bit of him tomorrow if the predictions go the way the majority of the panel thinks they'll go, but you will see him tomorrow on stream. Dylan, what are your last thoughts?
I mean, just honestly, first, thank you to you for letting me watch this video so many times. It's been fun to come in here and chat. That's what I love it. I love the atmosphere of Rocket League. But yeah, it's super fun. This season has been awesome. May have had my worst role ever as a player, but that's okay. It's been super awesome to watch the rest of the league, the teams come in, the matches, everything that's happened. So I'm just grateful to once again be a part of this league and keep seeing it go to higher heights. And I'm looking forward to seeing the SEL is even next semester, let alone years from now. But yeah, looking forward to tomorrow's matches, of course. Larry, good luck to you. I know Milk is in chat. Good luck to him and Bruton Parker as well. I know that everything tomorrow is going to be awesome. Yeah, definitely tune into that Jonas TJ casting duo. That's going to be something you don't want to miss for sure.
All right, Larry, how about you to close us out?
I mean, first off, thank you guys for having me on. This was a fun experience, and I hope to do it again. And, Bepic, TJ, I've had the pleasure of meeting you guys in person a good amount of times. By far my favorite Rocket League casters, I gotta say.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I'll always give it Florida our props. I love it. But yeah, tomorrow's gonna be very interesting. Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. But I got my Gators on top. So
all right. Well, good luck, Larry. Good luck to ETSU boys that were in chats. Good luck, Bruton Parker, as well. It is going to be a very fun stream. Like TJ said, Esports SEL tomorrow at, we switch time, so it's 7 Central, 8 Eastern when the lower finals kicks off. And then Grands immediately after that. Could be our only 3-series stream on the SEL channel all fall. We'll see if either Florida or ETSU bracket reset. But that's for tomorrow to figure out. Thank you all for watching. This is the final State of the SEL pre-finals. There might be another one 2 weeks from now, talking about spring and all that. That would be December 3rd, I believe. It's the week before my birthday, so that's how I remember it. Might have a birthday stream as well. Who knows? I don't have a streaming schedule at the moment. That's for 2025. But thank you all for coming in and supporting State of the SEL. Shout out Coach Stanley as well for popping in at the tail end of the stream. Love the support. Love the support of the entire SEL community. But I want to say good night for now. And we will catch you all later. Enjoy my messed up ending screen. Peace out, everybody.
Go back.